Good afternoon, whatever time you're watching this is. I think it's good morning right now. Our Lady of Greenwood. So today's gospel is the gospel about the persistent widow and the unjust judge. It's a great little gospel. There is this unjust judge who refuses to render a just decision. But this widow, the widow, though, is persistent in bothering him about rendering the just decision. And there's this funny line where he says, I'm going to give her a just decision lest she strike me. So we have this great, hilarious, in my opinion, image of this widow who's going to punch this judge out if he doesn't do what she considers to be just and right. So the lesson is in the gospel, so if an unjust judge is willing to render a just decision for this widow because of her persistence, imagine how much a just and loving God will render a just decision for you in your persistence in prayer. Now, that is to say, what we have to kind of address here is a lot of times we are persistent in prayer. We try to talk to God all the time, and it can kind of feel like, useless. Like, I just keep praying all the time, and nothing really changes or nothing really happens, etc. I would argue that something is happening, and I say it like this: imagine all of the people around you that you're close to, or imagine being part of a parish. Like I'm pastor of the parish, so think of all of the things you say and hear, all of the conversations that you have and all the people that you talk to, all of the homilies that you've heard, etc. More than likely, most of that is conversation that is innocuous at best. You probably don't remember half of what you say or what was said to you. If you tried to remember what I preached a month ago, I wouldn't even remember, much less would you. But what does happen over time, and in these conversations, in these kind of constant being around each other and talking, a relationship gets closer. We start to learn about each other. We start to understand each other. And ideally, we start to have love for each other that grows every day. So imagine if this is possible just in the day-to-day interactions, how much more possible it is with God. So when we stay close to God, when we keep our hearts open to God, we stay persistent in praying to the Lord and asking for him to come into our lives, you will genuinely, sometimes you feel like you're in a little bit of a space where that's not the case, but eventually you will genuinely feel closer to God and like you're walking with him and that he's leading you and guiding you, and if you will, rendering just decisions even in the midst of the craziness of life. But the key to that, like it is in a family, like it is in a parish, like it is with our friendships, is to be persistent in seeking God to be a part of your life. Three things this weekend. Number one, I'm going to preach a little bit about the campaign this weekend. I'll be the persistent widow asking you for money. And then two ministry things going on. The ministry fair will be going on, sponsored by the parish council. That'll be going on in Madonna Hall after all the masses. So if you're interested in volunteering for something or just want to learn about a particular ministry, that will be available in Madonna Hall. And then the Hearts for Haiti, they're doing their annual sale of the luminaries to remember your loved ones. And then those luminaries will be put all around the property, those candles, if you will, all around the property as remembrances of your loved ones. We pray for them on All Souls Day. Those will they'll be selling those this weekend as well. So just remember a donation it's basically a donation because all of that money then goes to help our brothers and sisters at St. George's Parish in Haiti, pastored by Father Claribert, and for their needs and their building needs and their school needs and things like that. I think that's it. Have a great rest of whatever part of the day you're having. God bless.